Hello and welcome back to our sociology videos. So this video is going to talk about how to be mindful and self-reflexive. Going back to what we talked about a little earlier in regards to the idea that we are going to be confronted or exposed to a lot of ideas and concepts that we may have never heard about before, and that might be even in direct opposition to our own ideas and beliefs, which is, again, totally okay, but it's really important to treat others with human dignity and respect. Online, through the digital discussions, through video responses, in all regards of engaging with another human, we need to be really conscious of how we are communicating with them. So one term that I like to think about is intent versus impact. So I may not have intended to hurt you, or I may not have intended to offend you, but we need to look at the impact of this. So to make it a little easier, I like to think about a lamp. So if you are in a room hanging out and you accidentally knock over a lamp and it breaks, it might have not been your intent to break the lamp, but it broke the lamp anyways. So now what do we do, right? So first, to start off, is to be mindful and to take accountability. We're going to go over a little bit more in depth about how to be mindful, especially when in discussions either face-to-face or online, either in our classes or at work or within our relationships. It's really important to employ these strategies so it helps us to witness and honor another person's experiences and realities while simultaneously checking in with ourselves and taking accountability for our own emotions. Cool? All right, so let's get into the PowerPoint, and then we will come back together to talk about how to reckon with maybe some wounding that we have caused or some miscommunication that we have caused later. Okay, so let me move my face, and we will get ourselves into the mindfulness. Mindfulness, self-regulation, and tolerance. So first, responding to stress. The brain is continually sensing and responding to the needs of the body. So we have specialized thermostats that monitor our internal and external regulation, right? Our worlds. So when they sense something is wrong or when the body is stressed, they activate the brain's alarm system. So it's basically when your mind and body are working together, and if you feel something that is uncomfortable or stressing, then your mind and body work together to try to tell you that something that is going on that you don't feel comfortable with, right? So much of this self-regulation takes place automatically behind our awareness, right? But as we mature, our brains require that we actively participate in our own regulation. When the internal world needs food or water, or the external world is overwhelming or threatening, our body tells us, right? So that's this idea of self-regulation. We need to start listening to how our mind and body are telling us when something's not adding up or when we're feeling discomfort. So many of the sensations we feel are out of this regulation, right? A thirst, for example, if I'm thirsty, then I'm going to feel thirsty. If I'm hungry, my tummy's going to start rumbling. If I'm tired, my body might ache, right? So these are sets of alarms or regulations or sensations that try to clue us into potential threats if we look at it in a survival or historical lineage, or we might be feeling some discomfort, or our body and mind might be bringing attention to what we need to learn. So the alarm response and the resulting feelings cause frustration and fear, right? So think about times when you have felt uncomfortable in class or when you have felt uncomfortable in other situations. What happens to your body, right? Does it get hot? Do you have a shaky voice? Do you have blurred vision? Do you have racing thoughts? Do you have dried mouth? I want you to take the next 1 to 2 minutes, pause this video. I'll be here when you come back, and take a second to think about all the ways that your body tries to communicate with you. Welcome back, right? So now that we've thought about these ideas, let's keep going forward. So now that we know what it's like for our own bodies to tell us that something's up, or that we're uncomfortable, or that we need to take some stock in our environment and ourselves, there are 3 main things that we can do. 1, stop. 2, breathe. And 3, think. So first, stop. Stop what you're doing. Check in with what you're thinking and how you're feeling, right? So if you are responding to a discussion post, or if you are in a conversation with another human and things are getting discomfort or feeling like dysregulation, it's okay to do a timeout, to stop what you're doing. Stop in that response. Stop reading the response or watching the video. Just stop. The second is to breathe. Practice mindful breathing. Create space between your thoughts and emotions, right? So breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. The next part is to think. Learn to broaden your perspective and strengthen your force field of peace and calm. So think about, why am I feeling this way? What about what's happening in my external environment that are causing these internal alarm systems? So when you take a break, right? Distraction. So this is the deployment of attention away from the negative aspect, or away from the stimuli that's causing you discomfort, right? So think of a safe space and mindfully be there, right? Meditate on it. Draw. You can use coloring pages, use stress balls, walk around the room, get a drink of water. Next is to breathe. So close your eyes and focus elsewhere. Again, you can focus back to that safe place. You can focus to your happy place, and then breathe. You can employ the 4-2-4, which is breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 2 counts, out for 4 counts. Through your nose, or make an O shape with your mouth. So breathe in through your nose and then make an O shape with your mouth. Pause this video and take a couple seconds to try this breathing method. I'll see you when you get back. All right, welcome back. So this next is bilateral movement. So within trauma studies, we can see that bilateral movement helps to remap your neural pathways, and it allows you to do a lot of really good self-regulation. So that can either constitute as walking, as it's bilateral movement. You can tap your shoulders, or you can tap your legs. Cool? So again, pause this video, take a few minutes to practice it, try to practice it in conjunction with the breathing. You can also listen to music and then visualize the vibration of your music simultaneously. All right, so next is to think, to build empathy, and to send love. Let's get this a little bit bigger so we can start to see everything, hopefully. Well, anyway, so reappraisal. So think, try to do a cognitive change of the meaning of the emotion, right, in order to reduce the negative feelings. So think that it's not a personal attack, but that it is people experiencing the world differently than you. So then labeling. Use this linguistic process of the emotions that arise in creating a certain situation. Want to identify what you're feeling. How does it feel in my body? How does it feel in my heart? How does it feel in my mind? First what, then why. So how does it feel, and why am I feeling these things? And then create love. So visualize love or empathy. For yourself, identify that it's okay and common for feelings to get activated. Allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling. And then next, try to create that same love and empathy for whomever or whatever is illuminating this distress for you. Right? So try to understand that everyone has different experiences and different realities, and sometimes that can feel like they're starting to question your reality. But what's important is to create that space within inside your own self to allow another person's reality to exist, even if it's in direct opposition with yours, right? So someone could explain a particular ideology or thought process that might feel really wounding or in direct opposition with my own, but I can allow them the same human dignity to allow their reality to exist without it having to affect mine. Does that make sense? So we can understand it kind of like, I allow you to believe that. I accept that you believe that. This is how I believe. We can live and have that be simultaneously. I don't need you to believe exactly what I believe, but I can honor that this is your experience. Cool? All right, so next is the vibratory frequencies of motion, right? So we saw that Einstein was in on this, that we have, I forgot what that fellow's name is. but another engineer of sorts. Anyways, so we basically, scientists and philosophers have understood this concept through centuries, right? And it's this idea that human emotions and all of life have a certain vibratory frequency to it, right? So if we can see in this image in front of us that the water molecule is being exposed to certain types of verbal cues, right? So one water sample is being offered a prayer or a meditation, another is before and after, another is saying thank you, another is love and appreciation, and then one is you make me sick, I will kill you, which is really intense, so I'm sorry for that. But you can see how even within displaying a pretty benign thing like just a saying, even if you don't necessarily mean it, it still has effects on the way that our water is constructed. And if you can extrapolate that to our human bodies, which is made up predominantly of water, we can see how that might affect our space and our environment, right? So this is really just to help us to be very mindful about what kind of messages we are sending out to each other. This PowerPoint is on D2L under PowerPoint, so you can pop into this, put it in slideshow mode, and click on that red vibratory frequencies of motion, and it'll give you a pretty sweet video on the science behind this theory. Okay, so mindfulness. Mindfulness has been defined as non-judgmental, present-centered, right? So there are 7 things about being mindful that you should practice, right? So try to be non-judgmental, be patient, right? Be receptive to new possibilities and not get stuck in the rut of your own expertise or experience. Trust. Pay attention to how you are right now, however that is. Accept and let go. Cool? So I want you to understand that this is basically how we are going to construct the way that we are going to communicate with each other in class, as well as how you're going to communicate with our own selves. Again, a lot of these ideas that are going to be posed in this particular class will challenge our current frameworks of understanding. Part of that is to help us to become more conscious, more empathetic global citizens. Also, heads up, you chose to be in a sociology class, which is studying about sociology, right? And our societies and our individual humans that make up and interact with society. So all of this is basically just kind of an exploration and a framework for us to set up to understand how we are going to engage with each other. I'm so glad that you spent the time with me. Please, if you feel comfortable, go through this again if you have any questions. I know it might seem a little new agey to some of us, but there's a lot of science behind these concepts, and it'll be really helpful even if you just employ these strategies in our class. See you in the next video.